As I have already discussed with you, as I've already told you, there are major Democrats at this point calling for President Biden to step down as the nominee for president. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I want to discuss some new polling that is sort of separate from that because there's a media story here that I think is really interesting. Yesterday, there were all sorts of headlines about a poll that says most Democrats, most Americans want President Biden to withdraw from the race. Fine. That is accurate. And that is what this new Associated Press NORC poll finds. But what the headlines missed, and this is why I always say critically analyze primary sources, analyze primary sources. If you click through to the NORC poll itself, even there, the headline is most say Biden should withdraw from the presidential race. If we look at the actual data, and this is such a lesson in media literacy, it's such a lesson in critical thinking, despite the headlines, which you can write a headline that says whatever you want. The reality is that most Americans also think Trump should withdraw from the race. There's a difference of 13 points, but this is not the overwhelming one-sided opinion that the headlines make it out to be. So let's actually look at the results. Overall, 57% of Americans believe that Donald Trump should drop out of the race. And overall, 70% of Americans believe that Joe Biden should drop out of the race. So when you see a headline, most Americans want Biden to drop out, and you look at the poll, more accurate would be most Americans want both candidates to drop out. And just as accurate is my headline, kind of illustrating the whole point here. You could also say, hey, look, we've got a poll. Most Americans want Trump to drop out. And obviously, leaving out the Biden part also is not super accurately or completely reflective of the circumstances. So the entire point here is it is a huge story, and it is a disaster that 70% of Americans want Biden to drop out. That is a disaster. It raises major questions about Joe Biden's ability to win. In all of these cases, there's a follow-up question that I think is relevant. And the follow-up question always is, aside from the fact that you may think Biden should drop out, if he's the nominee against Trump, do you still vote for him? Because I know many people, many personal friends who say, I don't think Biden should be the nominee, but obviously I'm voting for the guy. And just because you think that the candidate should drop out doesn't mean you wouldn't vote for them. What I think are the more relevant differences here is that the percentage of those who believe Biden should drop out by party is actually quite similar. 65% of Democrats believe Biden should drop out. 73% of Republicans believe Biden should drop out. That's very consistent. On the other hand, with Trump, there's a much more partisan split, where if you look at Trump, only 80, or let me put it a different way, 86% of Democrats believe Trump should drop out, but only 26% of Republicans believe Trump should drop out. So that is a different situation. I'm not pretending that this makes it abundantly clear what should happen, when it should happen, how it should happen. But the whole point here is that we've had 24 hours now of this being reported as most Americans want Biden to drop out. And what the very poll that this comes from actually says is most Americans want both candidates to drop out. Let me mention one other poll that's relevant to this. Shortly after the June 27th debate, there was polling done, and the polling found that 72% of Americans do not believe Joe Biden has the fitness to be president of the United States. That was the only headline that came from it. In the very same poll, 50% of Americans, or it might have been 49, it's 49 or 50, call it, it's roughly 50. 50% of Americans believe Trump doesn't have the fitness to be president of the United States. So is it a story that 72% of Americans do not believe the current president has the fitness required to continue being president? It is a major story. But just as big of a story is that even despite the acutely bad debate performance, the difference in terms of perceptions about fitness between Trump and Biden was only 22 percentage points. That's just as big of a story, was completely missing from the headline. So I've said it before, I will say it again. Get the primary sources. And in this case, the primary source, which is the Associated Press NORC poll, paints a dramatically different picture than what the headlines paint.